This Week in Startups is brought to you by Squarespace. Check out squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, use offer code TWIST to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. And Uber. Read all about the ways Uber is moving forward by going to uber.com/moving forward.
Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in Startups. I am your host, Jason Calacanis. I am an angel investor here in the Silicon Valley, and every week we tape 2 episodes of This Week in Startups for you, our loyal listeners, typically founders or aspiring founders, and we talk about building companies. We talk about building companies in the frame of trying to build a unicorn, build a billion-dollar company. Billion-dollar company typically has 50 to 100 million in revenue. 20 times that equals the billion-dollar valuation. That's the goal here in Silicon Valley. I've invested in 150 companies. 6 of them are unicorns. You've heard of some of them: Uber, Thumbtack, Desktop Metal, DataStax, Robinhood, and Wealthfront. Maybe you've heard of Calm.com or Trello, some of the other investments we've made. And this podcast is a way for us to meet founders who we might want to invest in the future. And it's a way for us to share what we've learned starting companies. We want you to watch this program, listen to it, become inspired, and start your own company. If you do choose to do that, there are a number of ways to get involved with us. And by get involved, I mean get our money that we invest in early stage startups. What kind of startups do we invest in? We invest in high growth startups, and we typically invest in them when they're in the Goldilocks zone. What is the Goldilocks zone? Not too hot, not too cold. Too cold is the product's not launched, you just have an idea. If you have an idea and you haven't launched your product, listen to the podcast. That's totally great. Read my book, Angel. These are great ways for you to learn about the industry through experts who have done it. If you've already raised your Series B and you've got $100 million in the bank, you also don't need us. We're seed investors. For us, we're looking for that Goldilocks company, somebody who's launched a product, has some traction, and is looking to grow. So one of the big areas that I'm interested in is human optimization and potential. This is the Tim Ferriss zone. He's been on the podcast before. And people call it nootropics, I guess. And it's generally about optimization. It's particularly relevant in Silicon Valley, where founders are obsessed with optimizing. Things like getting your body into ketosis so you burn fat instead of burning sugar and carbs. Things like caffeine, even microdosing LSD for creativity. This is a whole trend here in Silicon Valley amongst entrepreneurs, and it's not surprising that they're addicted to these kind of concepts: drug abuse, drug use, legal, illegal, and everything in between, as well as optimizing sleep and fasting and diet. This is what people here do because they want to be in optimal condition for building their company, which is arduous. My guest today is Jeffrey Wu. Jeffrey is the founder, the co-founder and CEO of Human, which is spelled HVMN. We have a big trend here in Silicon Valley of misspelling words, replacing vowels, and using consonants. You can go check out Human at hvmn.com right now, and they are makers of nootropics. And they have a new product out called Ketone, which is the world's first ketone ester drink. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Ester?
Yep.
Welcome to the program, Jeffrey Wu.
Hey, thanks for the invite.
So let's get right into it. On the table here, you have your new ketone supplement. I found out about this because a friend of mine who created Evernote, Phil Libin, who's been on the podcast a couple times, said he was obsessed with this, and he also has had dramatic weight loss. I think he's lost 150 pounds. He used to be like huge, chubby, and now he's skinny and looks unbelievable. Super inspiring to me. Explain to me what ketones are and what this ketone product from Human is.
Great. So ketones, there's a couple ways to slice it, but typically in just traditional evolutionary theory, ketones were evolved to be a backup fuel when the body was in a state of starvation. So our bodies have a limited store of carbohydrate or glucose in the form of glycogen, and we have a lot of fat stores. But it's a lot easier to convert glycogen into fuel than fat into fuel. And fat can't cross the blood-brain barrier. It's a very slow-moving, fuel. So the state of ketosis is once the human body runs out of carbohydrate reserves, glycogen, glucose, it starts converting fat into what are called ketone bodies. And ketones are a really efficient fuel for the brain and body. In fact, they're 28% more efficient than glucose or sugar per unit oxygen. So you get more work done with the same amount of substrate.
Got it. So
And-
human bodies work through two fuel systems. We're almost like a hybrid, except they're not used concurrently. They're used in two different situations. One is we eat a piece of fruit and we get a bunch of sugar in our system. That gives us energy.
Right.
Now, if we eat too much sugar, it stores it as fat. And then if we have no sugar for some period of time, maybe a day or two, our body builds up ketones. The ketones then burn fat, and that fat becomes ketones.
Fat turns into ketones.
Fat turns into ketones,
Yeah.
and then that gives you energy off of the fat stores.
Correct.
And this was created because as humans, we were scavengers, omnivores, and we just needed two different systems. Is that the biological theory here?
Yeah, the biological theory is that, well, bacteria, for example, anaerobically turn glucose into fuel. What I mean anaerobically, you turn glucose into lactate. Perhaps I'm going too far in the weeds here, but yes, the main evolutionary reasoning is that for whatever reason, there's a limited store of carbohydrate. It's a lot easier to store adipose tissue or fat.
Yep.
And you could think of the freezer as
Yeah,
fat,
got it.
and the refrigerator as glucose. You have a limited store of glucose in the refrigerator, and once you want to open up into the deep stores, it takes a while to convert the frozen stuff into something usable.
And this is why everybody's getting so fat, is because we have so much sugar and carbohydrates that turn into sugar in our diets
Yeah.
that we wind up storing fat. Once you've stored fat, your body's happy to store fat. It thinks that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't realize that we no longer have periods, days, or weeks of not being able to acquire food in the modern world.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, for the longest history history of human society, famine has been the biggest killer of humans. So this notion of storing fat was relatively good for the last, essentially hundreds, like tens, 20,000s of years.
Right.
It's only within the last 100 years, where in first world countries, I think, luckily, perhaps, likely the folks listening to us, we're not in a state of famine.
Yeah.
We actually are dying of overconsumption, and that's contributing to all these skyrocketing diseases of diabetes, obesity. These are just the
And heart
terrifying
disease
curves.
brought on by diabetes. It
Exactly.
seems like this is going to be the leading killer is no longer smoking.
Right.
It's going to be obesity
Yeah.
and heart-related issues caused by obesity. So now, my understanding was if you wanted to benefit from ketones, and if you want to have that diet and get into ketosis, you will lose essentially a pound a day or half a pound a day is what most people lose when I talk to them. Is going into ketosis, which people are getting obsessed with doing, is it safe? Is it safe to put yourself in this state? It would seem to me it is, since our bodies are designed for it. But what's the latest science on the safety of not having any sugar, not having any bread, and building up these ketones?
Right. So the ketogenic diet really came into modern medicine in the early 1900s to treat drug-resistant epilepsy. So in that population, essentially they were feeding kids 90% of their calories from fat. And that's because they were not responding to Caesar medicines.
Got it.
So it's
So
been
somebody
shown
just
to-
stumbled upon this.
Well, there's been a lot of anecdotal, historical use of fasting and ketogenic diets to resolve some of these issues, and it was
Got it.
sort of rediscovered in a modern medicinal context,
Right.
as opposed to sort of like a tribal tradition.
But in the 70s and 80s, we seem to have forgotten about this
Yeah,
to some very large degree. And I think the Atkins diet and then the Mediterranean diet had kind of hints of this, correct? Like, don't eat a lot of bread, eat more fats. And the government told everybody that the pyramid was supposed to be bread.
yeah.
The government did a huge disservice, didn't it, here in the United States?
Yeah, I mean, I think Gary Taubes, who Case Against Sugar,
Yeah.
a lot of researchers and writers today are highlighting this issue where there was Ansel Keys, a prominent nutritionist who's essentially defined the food pyramid as today, and more of that base data is being debunked, or the correlations weren't actually proven to be causations.
Pass me one of these bottles here. These
Yes.
are ketones in a bottle.
Yes.
So are you harvesting this from a human being, or are you making this in a lab? Where does this come from? Because this is the first time that you've been able to drink your ketones to build it up and have it instantly in your body, correct?
Correct. So how we think about these consumable ketones is that we have a fourth macronutrient. So what I mean by that is that we all know about proteins, fats, carbohydrates. These are the things on the FDA food label that have caloric content. Things like vitamin D, calcium, these are what are called micronutrients. Things that help on different biological functions but aren't the substrate for ATP production.
Got it.
And then fats convert into ketones, and you usually have to do a ketogenic diet or fast to be in a low carbohydrate state to convert fat stores into ketone bodies.
Got it.
What we have here is that you can directly consume ketones as a food for the first time.
When we get back from this break, I want you to explain how you make it, why nobody else has made this before, or have they, and why it costs so much to buy a small bottle, and how much it costs to buy this 2.2 fluid ounce bottle when we get back on This Week in Startups. You know, we took the Launch Festival down to Sydney this year, and we wanted to make a completely new website, and I just thought to myself, this is going to be so easy. We're going to get the domain name launchfestivalsydney.com, and we're going to just turn it on squarespace.com, and in minutes, we had a gorgeous website, and everybody on the team was updating it, and we looked so professional so quickly to our partners in Sydney that when they saw the logos of all the partners, we were able to sell 5 other sponsorships. You heard me correctly. That beautiful website made all the partners say, I want my logo up there looking gorgeous on that Squarespace website. And we were able to sell 5 more sponsorships. That's money in our bank because, and giving us the ability to run this event because we had such a beautiful website. Think about it. If you were going to sponsor an event or do business with a company or hire a consultant, if their website looks janky and ugly and it doesn't work on mobile, it's not responsive, it's not a gorgeous template, and it doesn't stay up and running, and it's not fast and secure, you look like an idiot. And then people don't do business with you. But the converse is also true. If you use a beautiful Squarespace website and it has all those great features and it's optimized for mobile and it's fast and you can choose one of those over 200 extensions, well, you know what? They're going to find you and they're going to want to do business with you because your website is tight. Tight is right, and Squarespace will make a beautiful website for you. Of course, they have 24/7 award-winning customer support, and of course, they have search engine optimization analytics built in. It just works. It's flawless, and a great website is a worthy investment of your time, even as CEO, even as the co-founder. You need to go look at your website right now and think to yourself, if I didn't know this company, I landed on this page through an email link or a tweet or a Facebook posting, or randomly through a Google search, would you be impressed? If you're not impressed, you're doing it wrong and you're losing customers. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial and use the offer code TWIST when you're ready to launch, and they'll give you 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks again to my friends at Squarespace. It is an invaluable tool. We love it. Go check out Launch Festival Sydney. You'll see a beautiful website. Boom. Go check out angel.university, founder.university, jasonsyndicate.com. I could go on and on about all the different websites we've created, but I would run out of time and we got to get back to this amazing episode. So thanks again, Squarespace. Use that offer code TWIST, get that 10% off. I know you don't need the 10% off, but use it so they know. And get ready to have a beautiful, beautiful website today, like right now. Go do it. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode. Hey, everybody, welcome back to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Jason. My guest today, Geoffrey Woo. You can follow him on the Twitter as well, GeoffreyWoo. He is the CEO and co-founder of Human, which you can visit at hvmn.com or follow on the Twitter, hvmn. It's pronounced human. It's spelled hvmn. Now, you had been working on some other products in this startup. You started this company 2 years ago?
Almost 4 years ago now.
Almost 4 years ago now. And you raised $3 million or so? Maybe you're raising right now because you look down. See, I'm a poker player. If you look down when I ask you a question like that, and I know the number 3 is wrong now, which means you probably did a
We've
secret
raised
raise.
approximately $7 million so far.
Okay.
It
So
just
it's a
hasn't
little
been publicly
unannounced raise.
announced.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you're announcing it today for the first time. That's
think
good for
so,
us.
yeah.
So Crunchbase says 2.6, but it's actually 7. And a bunch of my friends are in here. Arjun,
Yeah.
who was at Social Capital for a while. He just left. Marissa from Mayor from Yahoo and Google fame. Mark Pincus from Zynga fame. Andreessen Horowitz is in there. But you must have done a Series A at some point, or this is all just seed stuff?
I mean, I think to me, it's just different tranches of financing,
Yeah.
right? How do you want to name it?
Great. So congratulations on that. You previously sold Go Cubes,
Yeah.
which were chewable coffee.
Yeah.
How did those do?
Good. I mean, selling quite a bit in convenience stores. We're in a bunch of 7-Elevens around the country. A lot of athletes use them as sort of pre-workouts, and they're just like a fun college thing. It's one of our biggest demographics are college students.
So people are, going for a workout. Caffeine is good for workouts, I understand.
Yeah.
There's some good research on that.
Yeah.
And you get to just chew your coffee.
Yeah.
It's a little bit gimmicky, I guess, because it's coffee as gum. I've never seen coffee gum.
Yeah, the notion there was that we have a nootropics product called Sprint that was a caffeine L-theanine mix, and we basically translate it into a more friendly form factor.
And then you did this Nutro box.
Yeah,
You still do that?
yeah,
And what's in that? That's like one of these subscription boxes or something?
yeah. So I mean, it kind of is a subscription box in the sense that you get a box of nootropics or cognitive enhancers in the mail per month. But there weren't like sampler boxes, which typically are associated with subscription boxes. They were our own developed nootropic stacks.
So both of those did well,
Yeah,
but this ketone product is the product, isn't it?
yeah.
People are going crazy for it. When did the product first come out?
We launched this product April 30th, so it's been
Okay.
out about 2 months on the market now.
And my understanding is it's sold out. You can't get it.
We're in stock now again, but
Oh,
yeah, we're
good.
moving good volume. Yeah,
Okay. People are kind of going crazy for it. I literally had somebody in for an interview today
yeah,
to work at launch, and they saw your human ketones, and they said, "Oh, I do that every time I do a race." And this costs $50 a bottle. What-
$30 a drink.
$30 a drink.
Yeah.
So this is like the cost of 15 Gatorades, and it provides the same amount of energy as a Gatorade, essentially. But it's a
No.
different type. Yeah, explain the difference and explain why it costs $50 for 2 ounces. It's $25 an ounce.
Yeah,
This is quite expensive.
yeah, it's super expensive.
Why?
Okay, so a lot to unpack there, but perhaps just answering that question directly. Ketones have been an interesting research tool for 50 plus years. And what happened was that our research partners at the NIH and Oxford realized, they're some of the most foremost experts in ketosis, realized that ketone bodies were really efficient fuel. So in the 90s, they saw the result that ketone bodies per unit oxygen were doing more work than sugar. And that clued them onto the notion, okay, ketones are really efficient fuel for the body. What applications could we use here? And some of the earlier work, even 20, 30, 50 years ago from that, when they were putting beta-hydroxybutyrate, which is a form of ketone body, on sperm cells, for example, they went like crazy
Really?
energetic. So that was like some of the
So it's like a
initial
sperm
clues.
dance party.
Yeah, basically. So those
Yeah.
were some of the initial clues on why these were such energetic molecules.
Got it.
So in 2003, there was a DARPA program called Metabolic Dominance to ensure that
Metabolic dominance.
a funky, crazy name.
Yeah.
The mandate for that program was to ensure that U.S. warfighters were the most metabolically efficient on the battlefield. So early Iraq War era. And there's an RFP out there to call for all the proposals to develop better foods, better food substrates for soldier use.
Got it.
And our research partners at Oxford and NIH submitted the notion that, okay, we know that ketones are really efficient fuel. Can you produce a ketone ester or a food form of ketones that are ingestible as a food?
Interesting.
And so if you think $30 a drink is expensive now, that what is in your hand used to cost $25,000.
$25,000,
Yeah.
$12,000 an ounce
Yeah.
to do this. Now, where do these come from? Where do these ketones come from? Are you harvesting them from humans, or is it made in a lab?
It's made synthetically.
Synthetically, got it. So these are synthetic ketones.
So why we're able to drop the price a couple orders of magnitude is that with the onset of synthetic biology, you could create GMO E. coli, genetically modified E. coli. So we have
Fascinating.
these E. coli to ferment sugar into the precursors of a ketone ester, and we lipase them together.
Interesting.
So originally, when it cost $25,000 per drink, you would purify crude oil. So a lot of organic compounds, like things in your makeup, things in plastics, things
Right.
in foods, are just different carbon length chain molecules.
Huh.
And if you just purify out a column of or just carbon chains, you can actually get the long chain, medium chain, short chain molecules.
When did you first come up with the idea to put ketones in a bottle? Yeah. Like, when did that dawn on you that, like, because everybody in this town for the last 2 or 3 years has been talking about the ketosis diet. Everybody optimizes around
Yeah.
it. And everybody is peeing on sticks or taking blood tests because of Tim Ferriss and Kevin Rose
Yeah.
basically evangelizing that if you're in ketosis, you think clearer and you have more energy.
Right.
So is that true, that premise that you'll be more focused and more effective if you're in ketosis versus using sugar? I'm curious your opinion on that. And then when did you have the idea to make this a consumer product?
So to answer the first question, yes, we believe that ketones are more more efficient fuel for cognitive performance, and data is actually coming out to support that. So we had independent research group in Ireland run by Brendan Egan and Mark Evans, showing that after intermittent running exercise, people on a placebo drink of carbohydrate were making more errors after this exercise versus ketone ester.
Wow.
So people were basically retaining cognitive function after an intense exercise. And we're actually further investigating that cognitive effect. We recently earned a SOCOM phase 1 contract to study the effects of cognitive performance of ketone esters in extreme environments.
Got it. So the idea is if we're going to go in and raid Osama bin Laden's compound, if we eat a bunch of donuts and drink Coca-Cola and go in there,
Right.
our brains may not be as sharp as if we just drank some human ketones.
Correct.
So better performance, more sustainable performance, and less fat being stored on our bodies, which is generally better.
Well, I would say there's a subtle point there. If you drink ketones, there's calories in that drink. So if you actually look at the label, it's a funky label. That's not label for individual sale, but
Yeah.
if you look in the box, it's 0 grams fat, 0 grams protein, 0 grams carbohydrate, 220 calories.
What?
Or 120 calories.
So the calories are coming from the ketones.
Yes.
But normally we look and we see, oh, it's a Coca-Cola, it's got 300 calories, and it's got 32 grams of sugar.
Right.
So we know where those calories are coming from. The
Right.
energy is coming from that. There's 0 grams of protein.
Right.
Do you see a day when these ketones will be put into foods and drinks like we do now? There's like a little, people are kind of getting into like yogurts, or there's even like waters now that have a little like 8 grams of protein, because we know protein's a really good
Yeah.
energy source, or it satiates people in order to help them lose weight.
Yeah.
So is that what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have spot on in terms of the scale,
Yeah.
right? Right now it's expensive. It tastes kind of crazy. I don't know if you've had a chance to
I
try
haven't.
it yet.
I guess I should do that right now. If I drink this, what happens right now? Do I start bouncing off the walls?
No, but you'll feel a subjective, nice lift of energy.
All right.
I mean, it's 120 calories. It's kind of bitter, but you should just
Well,
shoot it like
I'm going to do a shot of this right now.
Good, cool.
All right, this is a brace for it, people. I'm gonna have my first shot of ketones. And I should do the whole thing.
Yeah,
It smells fruity.
smells good. There's a bite behind it though.
Oh my God. Woo. It tastes like I'm drinking perfume in a way. It's got like a very soury kind of flavor.
A bitter.
It's bitter.
I would say bitter. You got it. It's bitter.
I'm almost there, people. I did 2 slugs. I mean, it is a bitter taste.
Yeah.
I'm particularly don't like the bitter flavor. It's like drinking mouthwash or something.
Yeah, the
You
ester.
can't make it taste better without screwing up the ketones. Is that the issue right now?
So there's an ester bond, which is simply just like a double oxygen bond. These are like the flavor molecules that make fruit smell good.
Got it.
So it's an engineering problem. We're working
Got
on
it.
it.
You work it. You figure it out. This is the 1.0 of the product.
Yeah.
But now I'll have 120 calories of energy.
Yeah.
So this will carry me for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Human burns about 100 calories. 75 calories an hour.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I guess we're all supposed to
Yeah.
be doing 2,200 a day. So
Yeah.
ballpark 75 to 100.
Makes sense. Yeah.
If I'm not sleeping. And so my energy will just be higher now. Is that right?
And I think if we we could do a blood prick test, which I think is actually a fun demo for this product.
Do you have with you? No, I'll get it next time.
Next time.
And then my ketones will go up?
Yeah, so I can show you, like in 30 minutes, I will show you that your blood ketones will look like you've been fasting for 10 days.
Got it. So I'm in
And-
ketosis then, or
Yes.
not?
You're in ketosis, but there's a nuance between ketosis from your fat stores from exogenous ketosis.
Got it.
So this is pretty nuanced, cutting-edge science where only within the last few years you could actually induce a state of ketosis, not through burning through your fat stores. So I think when you're talking about diet, a lot of the data around ketones as being efficient for cognitive performance or endurance has always been interleaved with a high-fat diet or fasting.
All right.
And now with ketones, you can separate that out.
Got it. When we get back from this quick break, we have news that we've heard about your
Okay.
company, that you are about to announce a world-renowned professional athlete is going to be using your product, and that they might actually break some very prestigious world records using humans ketone. When we get back on This Week in Startups. Hey, everybody, let's talk for a minute about safety and responsibility and technology startups owning safety and security and using technology to keep drivers and riders safe. Well, as you know, I love Uber, and Uber is moving forward, and I love what I'm seeing out of this company that has done such a great job spreading point-to-point affordable transportation to everybody. And Uber has just created a safety center. You may have seen it in the app. It is amazing. In the safety center, you can designate up to 5 family and friends as your trusted contacts. And that means you can set up reminders to share your trip with them so they know exactly where you are, when you're getting home, when you got picked up, and they can see you on the map and know when you've arrived. Think about this with your kids, with your loved ones, your spouse, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever it is, and even business meetings. And Uber's updated app makes it easy for you to verify the details of your ride and your driver's name, his car or her car, the license, and all of that. I even saw that my driver speaks Hindi the other day. And obviously you can see their name, their rating, how many rides they've done. Uber's being super transparent, and they're super focused on making the service safer and more delightful. These are just excellent steps taken by Uber, and I am thrilled about it as an Uber power user and an investor. So you can read about all the ways Uber is moving forward. Go DK and the team. You just go to uber.com/moving forward. Uber.com/moving forward. Thank you so much to the team at Uber for focusing on safety and security and just making that app effortlessly efficient with the new safety center. Good stuff, huh? Everybody go check out your Uber app and visit uber.com/moving forward. Congratulations to the team over there. You've done an incredible job, and I'm very proud to be an early and still a long investor in Uber. Okay, let's get back to this amazing program. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis. I am an angel investor here in the Silicon Valley. We do this show twice a week. We've done over 800 episodes. And you can visit us on all the major platforms from Overcast to iTunes to SoundCloud to YouTube. We're all over the place. Go ahead and follow us. Write a review if you choose to. And if you post comments on YouTube, I get a notification. I generally respond to them. If you would like to spend time with us and our investment team, one of the great ways to do that is Founder University. You can go to founder.university and apply. We have about 400 or 500 people apply to each class. We accept 60, and then we spend 3 days with them in a free 3-day class on how to grow and scale your company, like my guest, Jeffrey Wu, today is doing with Human, hvmn.com. And we're talking about his new product, Human Ketone, which is moderately expensive. Who are you targeting now with this? Is it the 3-pack is $100 or something?
Yeah, 99.
99. So $33 a bottle.
Yeah.
So this is not for you to drink every day. This is for you to drink if you are like a semi-pro athlete or an aspiring person or a biohacker and you like to spend your money on this.
So our biggest customers today are professional athletes and the military.
Got it.
So we have 7 teams that are our customers at the Tour de France this coming weekend.
Wow.
For example, we started working with some NFL teams towards the end of regular season and working with them for camp coming up.
Got it.
So
Just don't give it to the Warriors because they have too many advantages already. The NBA is already freaked out that they keep getting all-stars. Now they have 5, I think.
Yeah.
They have Boogie Cousins on the team.
Yeah.
So when did you realize that this would be the product? I mean, it's selling out. When did you get the idea for making this? Because you started out with the other nootropics.
Yeah, we started with nootropics. We started with GoCubes, and we ran one of the largest online fasting communities during that same time. So you probably have seen all the articles around intermittent fasting in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, define what intermittent fasting is and what the science behind it is. Because I have an app by Kevin Rose.
Yes, Zero.
Zero, which I used, and I did some fasting, and I lost a little bit of weight, and it was hard, but I did it. What's the science behind fasting? Why is that becoming a thing?
Intermittent fasting is this notion of putting your eating time in a limited time window and extending out the period of time where you're not eating.
Okay.
So if you think about a diet, diets restrict types of calories or types of macronutrients, and intermittent fasting or fasting restricting the time that you eat.
Got it.
And the whole notion behind fasting is that we become a society where we constantly are snacking. And what happens when you snack? Well, you need insulin to bring sugar into your cells. So we're constantly spiking insulin, and that's needed to bring sugar into your cells, but your body builds what's called insulin resistance or a resistance towards the effect of insulin. So as you get more and more insulin resistant, you need more and more insulin to jam the sugar into your cells.
Got it. And your body never has a chance to rest.
Exactly.
Your body needs a chance to cool down.
Exactly.
And not be processing sugar.
Yeah.
And it's so prevalent in everything we eat. I mean, I was out at breakfast this morning, and one of the people I was with ordered French toast and then an orange juice. And I just looked over and I was like, that's like a 16-ounce glass of orange juice, 4 or 5 ounces of maple syrup poured on top of a croissant French toast.
Yeah.
It had to be 100 grams of sugar for breakfast.
Yeah.
What does it do to your body and your mind?
Yeah, and I think that's why you start seeing diabetes. A third of Americans are diabetic. A lot of us are being obese, and the trends are continuing to grow.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, what in an ideal world, what do you think the mix will be, or is it not known yet? In other words, if somebody said, I'm going to drink 3 of these a day and I'm going to replace a third of my food with them, would you advise that yet? What's your requirement as a startup to and your responsibility to educate people on how to use this?
Right. So the science is very, very strong on the performance use case. So for an acute athletic performance or a cognitive performance, using ketone ester before the game or the match or the mission and as a recovery product is very, 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 very robust.
Okay, that science is irrefutable.
Yeah,
It's
published
tight.
in Cell Metabolism, which is a premier biochemistry journal. The authors, came out of Oxford, NIH.
Okay. What if I move just to this, and I start fasting and just doing this? Is that going to mess me up in the same way that an over-reliance on sugar and insulin spiking does?
So
what's the science on that?
So the reason why we believe and hypothesize this will be safe for long-term continual use is that the same ketone body that is produced or in that drink is the exact same form of ketone that your liver produces from fat.
Got it.
So when you're eating a ketogenic diet or fasting, you're producing D-beta-hydroxybutyrate. And what we feed you with human ketone is D-beta-hydroxybutyrate purely. So everything in that drink breaks down into DBHB.
Got it. In 5 or 10 years, what will this cost? What do you think you'll get it down to? And then what's the plan on, distributing this? Do you think you're going to be making your own sports drinks that don't taste, challenging?
Crazy.
I'll be diplomatic, challenging to drink?
So we would like to see this scale to the cost of sugar. So just the theoretical biological limit is that we convert sugar into the precursors here.
Got it.
So
that's the market you want to disrupt.
Yeah.
Is the price of sugar.
Yeah.
Which is what, 10 cents an ounce?
Yeah, it's super cheap. I mean, subsidized by the corn industry. I mean,
It's horrible.
dynamics
Yeah.
there, which is partly maybe perhaps the reason why it's being shoved into all of our foods. That's another discussion. But we would like the way I like to see this used is you need carbohydrates for activities, right? We're not saying, hey, all carbs are crap. we would like to see some portion of our carbohydrate load taken and replaced by ketones.
Got it.
So maybe 10 to 15% of your calories from ketones. And ketones have an interesting effect where they are more satiating than other macronutrients.
Right.
So a paper published by a research lead showed that a ketone ester drink reduces ghrelin, which is the appetite hormone, beyond isocaloric versions of fat drinks or carb drinks. Interesting.
So this is the one major criticism of the McDonald's and the fast food, industrial complex is that they design the food to do the opposite of satiate you. They design it to make you hungry again.
Right.
So an hour or two after eating, you just feel compelled to go back and order another Big Mac.
Yeah.
If you succeed, people will drink some human ketone and then not want to drink anymore. They will be satiated for hours.
Right.
How long after you drink one of these do you think you'll be satiated for? 5, 6, 7 hours?
Less than that. So at rest, your ketones will be elevated for around 4 to 6 hours.
Got it.
And the effects seem to be directly correlated to the levels of beta-hydroxybutyrate in your blood. So if you can keep your BHB high, you're satiated.
What do you have to do and how is your company classified by the government here in the United States? Are you under the FDA? How do you get approval for this product? What do you have to do as a founder?
So this drink is regulated by the FDA as a food.
A food.
So actually part of the DARPA program was to classify this and take it through FDA as a food ingredient, not a supplement, not a drug.
Got it.
And actually, if you talk to a lot of folks in the military, my naive point of view coming in was that, hey, SEAL Team 6 is probably on all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
But actually, they're very, very cautious and very, very selective of what they put into their soldiers' bodies.
Yeah.
So getting that food status, and it's NSF certified for sport, it's WADA compliant, so it's not considered doping, was important part of the process. So we got the FDA GRAS status in 2015.
So if they take this during the Tour de France, there's no chance of
it's
pulling
regulated as a food.
It's
and it's
a
actually
food,
confirmed in 2011 by WADA that it's not considered doping. And actually UK Sport, which is the Olympic committee body for England, sponsored a lot of the clinical research up on the run-up to 2012 Olympics.
Let's talk about nootropics and the general movement of body hacking.
Yeah.
Somebody died recently, one of the biohacking people. I guess he died in his isolation chamber.
Yeah.
That's
Aaron
sad.
Treywick.
Yeah.
It's a sad story.
Yeah. What happened there? Do you know? Did he just die because he drowned, or was he doing some microdosing or some insanity? Or this is an extreme community, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. The way I think about it is, I think the biohacking community is the intellectual descendants of the Homebrew Computing Club hackers.
Ah, fascinating.
So if in the 70s and 80s, people were tinkering with silicon as the substrate of innovation, and these were garage hackers playing with CPUs and GPUs, I see that same creative spirit happening with biohackers today, but the substrate is biology and humans.
Got it.
So
What's happening in the underground?
I mean,
Like
I think
just like Reddit subreddits. What's the most extreme rumor and/or thing you've heard people trying in biohacking? Obviously, microdosing is a bit crazy on its surface, like taking LSD every day. I mean, psychedelics don't seem to be as damaging as alcohol.
Right.
So taking a 20th of a hit of acid or whatever, a New York Times journalist just did a book on this, right?
Mike Pollan.
Yeah, and I just heard his interview. So he's like, yeah, this is great. Everybody should do it. I was like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What are the crazy ideas and or rumors that you've heard of people doing?
I think some of the fringe activities are applying CRISPR to humans.
Wow.
Right? Genetically engineering humans at that level. So I think it's an interesting time in history where...
Explain to people what that CRISPR is and what that would mean to use it on yourself.
It's a biological tool derived from bacteria to cleave and alter the SNPs or the nucleotides in DNA. Right? There's 4 nucleotides. That's kind of like the binary code of our bodies. Can we come and tweak them however we want? Can we just rewrite our software? And in China, they're starting to do that. They're actually applying CRISPR in therapeutic use. And in America, for better or for worse, there's ethics and approvals, and we're we're more cautious, I would say, as Americans in human genetic engineering.
Now, genetic engineering would give you the ability to theoretically make a superhuman, a race of humans that were better than humans, more human than human.
Yeah, I mean, that's a sci-fi version of it.
Is it really sci-fi anymore? I mean, if people in China started, if they were literally trying to make super soldiers and they didn't care about the ethics of it, and people either were forced to do these experiments or opted into them, they could literally say, we just want to make humans with 20% more muscle, or make muscles with 20% more muscle fiber, twitch muscle fibers.
Sure.
This doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility, or it does? If you wanted to
I mean,
do
as
that.
a good scientist, you want to actually see this being done on humans, and like there's a lot of side effects or not.
You do want to see it done on humans.
Well, I mean, I think you to make strong claims there.
Right.
Right. So like I think just by saying, hey, this is possible 100%, like we don't have data suggesting that it is. But I think if you want to put a gun to my head and say like, hey, do you think this is possible? Yeah, I think that will be a conversation we have to have as a society.
When do you think we'll be having that conversation that some society, it'll probably be, let's face it, a dictatorship or a totalitarian regime that feels they can get this as an advantage in all likelihood, not unlike the Nazis felt they could.
Right.
But on an ethical basis, what would be, if there was no physiological downside and we could have 20% more muscles and our muscles could be 20% more powerful, and that would give us this massive advantage in our lives, make us able to carry heavier things or have more stamina or just enjoy life anymore. Do you have an ethical problem with people doing that? Why does it challenge us so much to have a problem with this and maybe not have a problem with people changing their nose structure with plastic surgery or augmenting other parts of their body? It triggers people.
I think it does trigger people, but I think that trigger point is arbitrary. I think if you think about the path of history, I think one of the compelling factors of what makes us human is our desire to manipulate our environments and ourselves. Like we've always been good about improving our capacity in this world. So I don't think it's an ethical block per se. I think it will happen, whether that's sanctioned or unsanctioned. It just, there's a very clear value of pursuit of improving ourselves that is going to happen. But I think what is incumbent on industry, community, government is to do it in a responsible way.
Right. Responsible means what in your mind? Because it's coming.
Yeah.
So what would responsible biohacking look like? Let's take my example of increasing, let's say, neuroplasticity and the power of your brain, and increasing muscle, because these are the two things that win wars and fights, your brain and your muscle.
Right.
If we're going to increase the power of both of those things, we're talking about an arms race that has never existed before.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it existed with the Nazis. They wanted to make a superhuman race,
Right.
so, and they were intent on that. So what would it look like, this ethical approach? What would the guardrails look like? Are people even discussing the guardrails of super intelligence and super muscular ability?
I think it's at the same fetal stages as discussions around AI and singularity. You have forward-thinking industry folks or folks in the community being like, okay, these are future guardrails that we should talk about. But I would say that, for better or for worse, I think regulators have to like deal with the immediate, 2 years election cycle type of policies.
So they're just totally out of their element, the same way they can't even deal with Facebook and regulating privacy, and it's taken them 20 years, with the EU and the United States government to figure out how to deal with cookies on browsers, let alone, some kind of...
Yeah, I think it's too sci-fi for them.
It's too sci-fi.
But I don't blame them. I think there are just a lot of problems with, what do you do with drugs? What do you do with companies like, I don't know, like Theranos? I see Bad Blood. I know we talk a lot about Theranos. I mean, there's like actual, short-term problems to look at. So
yeah. Well, that's
I don't
actually
blame them.
Elizabeth Holmes' next company. I just took the pitch. She's got a new company. It's competing with you. It's going to compete with Human. It's going to give you 20 extra IQ points with one shot of her ketones. So that's what you're up against.
All right. Well, hard to run it from jail, though.
It's going to be hard to run it from jail. All right. Now comes the fun part as we wrap up here. At what point do you believe humans will be able to add IQ points or massive muscle through biohacking? Take those and give me an over-under. Do you know the over-under betting system?
Sure, yeah.
So you set the line, and then I'll pick over-under, and then we'll check back.
Okay.
So a human will be able to change their IQ by 5% or greater, or their muscle mass 5% or greater. Give me the year you believe would be the year that's most likely to happen. I'll give you my over-under.
5%.
5% more brain power through some biohacking.
Yeah.
5% more muscle through biohacking, not training or
Right.
whatever. We're just straight up because they can do it with steroids now.
Right.
But let's just say with biohacking, changing DNA, not hormones.
Right.
Right.
I would say,
So flipping a switch style.
yeah. I would say over under on 5 to 7 years. So let's take the 6 years, 2024.
Wow. In 2024, we might be able to just flip a switch. I'll take the over on both.
Okay.
So in 2024, we'll
check
sit here
back
in June and,
Yeah.
and figure that out. It's fascinating. What else is going on in biohacking right now? What are the things that people are experimenting with? Obviously, ketones, fasting. We
Yeah.
know about both of those.
I think biometric tracking is something that's interesting.
So Fitbits, heart rate.
But even like continuous glucose monitors getting more and more invasive.
Let's talk about that because there is a rumor that Apple's working on something like this, a continuous glucose monitor.
Yeah.
I think that's been that rumor's been going around town for
years, yeah.
5 years.
Yeah.
We already have continuous glucose monitors for people with who have
Right.
diabetics, but it's very invasive, right? They have to basically put a device inside your body.
It's actually not that bad. So I've been wearing a CGM, a continuous glucose monitor, for most of it last year.
You have it on right now?
I don't have it on right now, but it looks
Okay.
like a little patch, a little tiny needle sticks into your arm. It's in there for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And you can have a little Bluetooth reader that comes up and scans your blood sugar.
What did you learn in a year of having a continuous glucose monitor
Uh,
and a needle in your arm all the time? Does it hurt or you get used to it?
it looks scarier than it actually is. You can pull up a YouTube video, just type in like Freestyle Libre CGM, like implanting.
Freestyle Libre CGM.
Yeah. So that's a common continuous glucose monitor.
Huh.
It's like maybe a little needle that's half a centimeter, but it's like flexible. It's a little pinch. It's in there. I was working out, showering. I was doing everything, normally.
Huh. And it's real-time glucose monitoring.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
So-
just put the patch on and you're done.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think the biggest things that I learned was you could actually start correlating some of your mood towards your sugar levels,
Huh.
which was interesting. So I
So
think
if you were in a bad mood or you were angry, you had
well, you could kind of. So we all intuitively know this notion of hangry or really slow off a
Hangry,
big
yeah.
meal, and you could actually see the glucose spike and crash in your in the glucose. So, I don't really drink soda. And the last time I had soda was when I travel. Sometimes I'll get a Burger King or something and order a Coca-Cola, and my blood sugar spiked to 300 something milligrams per deciliter, which is like 3 times like the normal levels.
Freestyle Libre. So this is a little patch with a needle,
Yeah.
and you have to, when you use this, change the patch every day or every couple days?
It's in there for 2 weeks.
2 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
I'm going to order and try this. Is it expensive? $200?
Yeah, a couple $100. Not too crazy.
And this is for diabetics to know their blood sugar all the time.
Yeah.
And you were able to predict your mood, and then after you ate, you knew.
Yeah.
So if you ate pizza, what happened?
If
What
you're
was the
eating a
worst?
heavy so
Yeah.
the worst meal that I ate, it
Yeah.
was a big thing of Coke, a double Whopper, and large fries.
And what happened? Your blood sugar went bonkers?
Yeah. So typically when you wake up fasted, you want to be under 100 milligrams per deciliter to be considered normal. Above 125 is considered diabetic. I was at 330. I was like, I literally could see this hockey stick
Wow.
of blood sugar. I mean, it came down relatively quickly.
And did you drink human ketone while you were doing that too?
No, this was a couple years ago.
Huh. And so this is, if Apple made something like this could change the diabetic picture as well, because people would actually be aware of what's happening with their blood sugar level.
Yeah, I think it's a very important biomarker, not just for, glucose is, I would say, one of the most important biomarkers for metabolism. It's like a fuel gauge.
Right.
If we just have a real-time dashboard on our bodies, that seems to be a sensible thing that we should have. We have real-time dashboards for our computers, for our cars. Like we have
Yeah, we have
live
steps
data.
and heart rate. We just don't have the most important one. Like steps and heart rate are pale in comparison to knowing your glucose.
Right.
Like if people knew their glucose, I think it would they would be measuring something that actually mattered.
Yeah.
Because steps don't matter. I mean, it's nice to know that you're lethargic or not.
Right.
But once you know you're no longer lethargic,
Right.
you're kind of done.
Right.
Like 10,000 or 14,000 steps, it's not going to really make that big of a difference.
Right.
Your heart rate, as long as you know what your general range is, it's not going to make a big difference. But
Yeah.
glucose, actually knowing that and being able to say, like, God damn it, I shouldn't have had 2 scoops of ice cream. 1 scoop would have been 150.
Yeah, and I think if you talk about like what I think is exciting, we should have a real-time dashboard for things like glucose, ketones, lipids, cholesterol.
How far away are we away from that?
I mean, you know that
Fitbit of
Apple and
everything.
Google and everything are spending a ton of resources on that problem.
Yeah.
So the rumors with Apple is that instead of using a needle in your arm, they're trying to optical lasers to try to scan through your arm.
It's crazy.
So
So your
that's kind of
Apple Watch will know your glucose level. Scan
which
it
would be
through.
cool. I mean, I would love that. I think
That'd be sick.
it just makes sense that we have so much real-time data on all the devices that we own, but we don't have real-time data on the most important device that we own, which is our bodies.
Yeah.
It's the most complicated, most important technology that we own.
So I had asked you about the professional athlete. Are you
Yes.
ready to announce this?
We're
Can we
announcing
ta-
it on July 19th.
July 19th. Okay.
But it will be a project to break a
world
prestigious
record. Got it. So either the mile or a marathon or a jump or something.
Yes, on that caliber.
I'm hoping it's the discus. I've always been a fan of the discus. I feel like as a Greek, I could compete in the discus.
Good guess. I'll give you. It's not the discus.
Okay, pole vaulting. I always like the pole vault too. I would never do it. That seems incredibly dangerous. Is there a javelin throw?
I think the javelin is still an Olympic sport.
It's still in the
yes.
Olympic? I
Yeah.
would like a javelin throw in the Olympics that included a moving target. Like, I don't want to actually kill a goat or something, but I would like them to have a robotic goat or something that just runs around, and you have to throw the javelin across you get like 3 shots at it, but you have to hit it.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
This would be we have to come up with a new Olympics for all this new stuff that people are going to be able to do. All right, so we'll look for that announcement on the Human website on July 19th. That's a really smart marketing idea. I think the Guinness Book of World Records is going to owe you a little bit of money for this. Go ahead and check out humanhvmn.com and follow Jeffrey Wu on the Twitter. Jeffrey, thank you for coming on the podcast.
I
appreciate it. And thanks for giving me some ketone. I know you were sold out, and I'm costing you money here, but it is now available.
Yeah.
You got sold out pretty quick,
Yeah.
and now it's available. All right, everybody go. I don't know if I can actually tell you to try it or not. It's not a medical device. It's not drugs.
Food.
It's not a supplement. It's just food.
Yeah.
So I think I can tell you pretty safely that you could try ketone, and it's just food. What does ester mean? It's an ester drink. What does ester mean in this context? E-S-T-E-R.
Ester is just a chemical term.
I'm not aware of it. What is it? Do you know what it means?
It just means that there's an oxygen molecule in the middle of 2 carbon groups.
Got it. Okay.
So there's an oxygen molecule in there.
Great. All right. Like Esther from the Bible. All right. Everybody check out thisweekinstartups.com if you want to write a review. That's great. But most of all, just tell your friend about this episode, forward it on, share it. That's what really helps inspire people to start companies, is hearing great stories like Jeffrey's and the story of Human. Maybe you have some great idea of how to change the world. And if you do, we're going to want to invest in it. So email me, jason@calacanis.com, when you are in the Goldilocks zone. You finished your product, but you need money to grow it and scale it. Okay, we'll see you all next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.